The Chief of Defense Staff has given security heads of operation in the Niger Delta region 2 weeks to put an end to the insecurity that has led to the fall in the number of barrels of crude oil produced per day by the country. He was speaking at a meeting with the heads of security formations in the Niger Delta, and NPC Limited, and Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency at the 6th Division Nigerian Army Headquarters in Port Harcourt. He warned military commanders who aid oil thieves to stop this illegal activity. Anyone caught henceforth will not be spared, he said. The meeting with security agencies followed a directive from President Bola Tinubu to end oil theft in the region.
We have a task. Mr. President is not happy. And he said that in clear terms. He is not happy. And since it is our responsibility to do that, he has given us 6 months. For me as Chief of Defense Staff, I'm taking 2 months. For you commanders here on ground, I'm giving you 2 weeks. It is not going to be business as usual. If you were doing anything before and getting away with it, please let it stop. We're all here to show you the seriousness we have for this. Don't make yourself a scapegoat. It is my policy to take everybody, to carry everybody along. But once you cross the line, you are on your own. And so let me make that very, very clear. If you cross the line, whoever you are on your own. As commanders, it's our responsibility to guide our men as to what to do. There is no single organization, no single service can achieve success here alone. It must be a teamwork. And these days of fighting between services, it's my business, it's my AOR, is all that nonsense must stop from today. Our personnel that are taking part in it, giving succor to those guys, giving them direction, giving them cover, must stop today. If I arrest any personnel that is doing it, the commander too is in trouble. I'm sure you know how the military operates. The commander too will not go free. I'm happy we have standing court martials in 60. 82 DDO has standing court martials. I will not spare anybody.
Indeed, there is a need to put an end to this menace. What else should the government do to put a halt to this problem that is causing a dent in the sector? For more on this, I'm joined in the studio by Dr. Abubakar Alkali. He is a petroleum engineer and public policy analyst. We also have the former presidential candidate of the Action Democratic Congress, Dumebi Kachikwu. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So you've watched the short speech by the Chief of Defense Staff, and this is not a new topic at all. We've been having the discussion. It's been a subject of public discourse for some years now. However, it seems a little bit exhausting for a lot of people because we haven't made significant progress in that regard. So the president has given a directive now. As someone who is from the Niger Delta, let me start with you, maybe Kachikwu. As someone from that region, what are your initial thoughts about what the president has said or the order that he has given?
Well, I believe that this is a fallout of the Energy Security Working Group set up by the NSA sometime in June, where they x-rayed all the different challenges facing the oil and gas sector, especially the theft of crude oil. And one of the things they discussed was bringing the president on board, essentially in how to coordinate the different security services, especially in the area of collusion. And for the first time, we've seen the Chief of Defense Staff actually publicly making clear to all Nigerians, to the world, that those who were employed, those who were tasked with protecting our critical infrastructure, our commonwealth, are part of those who've been stealing our commonwealth. And you saw him speak sternly to them and say, you know what, if this happens again, this is what is going to happen. I think this is the first time this has happened, and it goes to show that I think that they are taking this very, very seriously, and I think that we'll start seeing changes very, very soon if they continue like this.
Right. So let me come to you, Dr. Alkali. strong words by the Chief of Defense Staff there. And why should anyone believe what he's saying or care about this? It looks like the Nigerian state is structured in a way that it lends itself to failure. And so successive attempts to tackle this problem have not worked. Why should this time be different?
Yeah, well, yes, that's right. You will normally expect that, you know, this order now, this latest order, should have, it's natural, it's inbuilt, it doesn't need any emphasis, okay? But also, on the other hand, I will say this is, this is, encouraging. This is a good call from the perspective that of the fact that at least it is, an upgraded concern from the authorities. The authorities are telling us that, look, if our concern was low, now it's higher. We have upgraded our concern. But you see, I think that is not the solution. That is not even close to the solution, to be honest with you. But you have to also thank the authorities at least for coming on, at this stage. Sometimes last year I was in this studio, and I actually, not just me, a lot of concerned citizens have called for special laws for special offenses. If you ask me, oil theft is not an economic crime. Oil theft is terrorism. It is terrorism. It is not a mere economic crime. And that is why more recently, I'm talking about the step that should be taken now, to further this cause. More recently, I have called for the designation of oil thieves as terrorists. More recently, as recent as 2 weeks ago. Because I believe oil theft has the potential to actually ground the nation. As a matter of fact, if you can level IPOB, Boko Haram, and bandits as terrorists, there is nothing stopping you if you want to solve this problem. Anybody who is caught, in the act of oil theft should be convicted, should be designated as a terrorist,
right,
declared as a terrorist, and properly prosecuted and convicted under the Anti-Terrorism Act 2021.
Mr. Kachikwu, should they be called terrorists? And he also talked about setting up new or special laws in order to handle this. We know that the National Assembly is already thinking about, instituting stronger laws so that we can fight this problem. So which side are you on? Do you believe that stronger laws will make it better, or that we have enough laws already? It's the enforcement and the implementation that is the problem.
I'll say yes and no. Do we have adequate laws concerning crude oil theft? I don't think so. Is it effectively adjudicated? I don't think so. These are some of the issues that the government is looking at right now. Calling this terrorism, that's I think that will be stretching it, considering that it's an economic activity like any other economic activity. The Nigerian government or Nigerians are looking at diversifying their economy, and so all aspects of the economy I deem to be important. But should we take this seriously? Yes, we should take this seriously. When people damage critical infrastructure that affects the well-being of our nation's economy, we should do everything possible to ensure that these people are apprehended and then these people are prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But that's where the challenge is. What laws do we have in place to ensure that these people are fully prosecuted? If you look at the last 10, 15 years and look at all those who have been arrested, where are they today? What happened to those people? So if you notice that the law does not adequately take care of this area, then you see them, people see that it's a bit weak. They know that if they do something like this, they will get away with this scot-free, and that's what's been happening. But the major challenge we have concerning this is the fact that oil theft and the challenges facing oil theft is like a bucket of water with about 20 holes, right? If you plug one hole, as long as you have 19 holes, the bucket is still leaking. We must plug all the holes. And I think that what the government is doing right now is identifying all the holes concerning this nefarious act and ensuring that these holes are plugged. I'm happy that what I've been saying for the longest time concerning the collusion of those who are meant to be securing our infrastructure, that the Chief of Defense Staff himself has come out to say his men are part of these nefarious activities and that they will be fully prosecuted if they are caught. And when President Buhari was there, he brought on board private security contractors who have been doing a yeoman's job. But if you look at what they are doing, they are protecting the pipelines, right? But it goes beyond pipelines, because the pipelines are now being well protected. But these guys are now going to the wellheads, to the bulk lines. That's where the activities are taking place right now. And then the deep blue sea. Who is at the deep blue sea? During the day, if you do have a satellite view of Nigeria during the day, you don't really see that many ships in deep blue sea. But if you check that same satellite image at this time, lots of ships have come into our waters, and they are using all these Cotonou boats to take 5,000 liters of crude oil to all these to these vessels. Who is manning deep blue sea? It's the Navy.
Right.
How come this is happening?
This is a bold move by the Chief of Defense Staff to call it as it is. He's literally indicting his men. Do you see that there will be changes from here right on?
Yeah, well, it will be very difficult. I actually commend the Chief of Defense Staff for coming out, more stronger.
Why will it be difficult?
But it will be difficult. You see, I give you an example. Now, the security of our oil infrastructure is now effectively contracted to non-state actors. That's one example. Okay, non-state actors, people who have been alleged.
But the Navy is also involved.
Yeah, excuse me, people who have been alleged to be at the heart of oil theft, at the heart of militancy in the Niger Delta, were awarded contract to oversee security of oil infrastructure. How could someone who actually comes to steal in your house, and you want to secure your house, and you contract the security of your house to that person? Okay?
But so they're not acting alone, are they? We have the Navy, we have the Army, you have all sorts of security agencies in that region.
I'm saying non-state actors should not be involved in securing the oil infrastructure of Nigeria. Otherwise, there are so many things that they know. There are so many things that this is part of the reason why this problem seems intractable.
Do you see this as a problem?
Absolutely not. Looking at America, we see the FBI and the CIA working with people who they believe are experts in different fields, people who they found difficult to apprehend, and when they apprehend these people, they bring them to work for the state to ensure that, because they know a lot of those gray areas that the state does not know.
But are former militants experts?
I'm happy he used the word alleged, because none of these people has been prosecuted or by our laws and been convicted, so we cannot say that these people are actually crude oil thieves. But what I will tell you is this: since President Buhari initiated this bold move, we've seen tremendous improvement, at least in the area of pipelines, where Tantita is doing a yeoman's job. The challenge we face right now is, like I said, you can plug one hole and you have 19 other holes leaking. You will not get anything done. So as long as they leave all those areas porous, you will find our still facing the same problem. But the National Security Advisor now, with what he's done, right, I believe in a short time we'll start seeing a difference, as long as government gives these private security contractors the support they deserve, as long as the security services all come together to support them, as long as the operators, the IOCs, as long as the IOCs are checkmated and they are transparent in their process of producing and transporting this crude, as long as government ensures that we have proper metering and proper surveillance of the whole infrastructure needed to produce crude oil, you will see a difference. What has been happening is that we just take little bits here and there, touch this, and you cannot expect to see anything.
Since you've mentioned metering, let's go to that. The Minister of Petroleum Resources, Heineken Lokbobiri, has announced that the government has awarded a $21 million contract to make sure that 187 flow stations are metered accurately. There is also going to be an advanced tracking technology to track from point of loading to the destination. Do you think this will be a game changer?
Well, potentially, but there are, ingredients to make it work. You see, right now, as we speak, you cannot really establish Nigeria's oil production output. You can't, because the meters are faulty, are in error. They record error in some places, in some of the wellheads, some of the flow stations. These meters are not even used. You see, and that is where you are supposed to have representatives of the NUPRC, okay, and the IOCs, okay. But these meters are faulty. Everybody knows. You see, stakeholders know that metering is a big problem in the industry.
It's a problem, not a solution.
Now, yes, it's a problem. It's not the solution. It's supposed to be the solution. That is why Nigeria produces more than 1.25 as reported. Absolutely. But because oil theft has taken its own, Nigeria can potentially produce, I'm being very ambitious, 5 million barrels per day. But here we are, struggling between 1 million to 1.25. You take out, you lose about 3 million barrels per day to oil theft and metering. About 3, yes, absolutely. Okay. Because if you have reserve that can produce 4 million, 5 million, and you are struggling to make even our quota, our per quota of 1.5 million, it's not met.
Yes.
So it's 1.25. So you see, the point is, to what extent has the government established this metering system? If we have the metering system, how about the collusion?
No, we've just been told that a contract has been awarded. And so,
but how about the
Mr.
collusion?
Kachikwu, yes, there is the human factor, the human problem. So in your view, the metering and the tracking technology will not work?
I think what he's trying to say is that metering exists, but the metering is faulty. So when he speaks about the problem, is the fact that metering is faulty. But like I said, metering is one of the many holes. If you have metering, you then have to deal with the human element. I'll ask you a simple question. Have you ever been cheated at a filling station?
Many times.
Good. They have metering there, right? And they can be manipulated, not so? So the human element is there. We must plug all the holes associated with crude oil theft. Metering is one of them. The human element is one of them. The crooked IOCs is another hole that we need to plug. If we plug all these holes, trust me, in no time, Nigeria will produce at least 3, 4, 5 million barrels. We can get up to our OPEC quota if we plug all the loopholes. But the issue is that we're not plugging all the loopholes. But with what the government is doing today, I'm encouraged by the reports we're getting from the Energy Security Working Group in the NSA's office and all the action plans they are taking. If they are able to implement 80% of their action plans, trust me, we'll do
And that takes me to my next question. Do the managers of the state have the credibility to tackle this headlong? Like he said, do they have the credibility? Can they do this?
Well, I tell you, there is the need for a surgical operation of the industry. If you look at it, the people that actually, designed the industry to its current sorry state are still there. How can you be doing the same thing and expect a different result? If Nigeria is to reform its oil industry, then we have to start from the NNPC. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so the fact is the managers lack that credibility. That is a simple fact. You see, there is no missing words here. We are talking about the lifeline of the country. Okay, so if we don't get right in the oil industry, where are we going to get to that? What are we going to do to survive economically, to develop economically? So the political will has to be there to put round pegs in round holes. There has to be a surgical operation. And as I said, you see, the NNPC, which has more or less now been turned into like a joint venture management company, if you ask me, needs a redirection. Okay, it needs a redirection. Reforms in the oil and gas industry has to start from the NNPC. There has to be a new focus. Okay, NNPC should be built into an E&P company not just a mere joint venture management company.
I mean, NNPC has been unpacked. It's now a limited liability company. Do you believe that what we've done so far with it is not enough?
I believe that what we've done, we've taken baby steps. I believe that every day you keep on improving on what you have. I believe that NNPC's major problem in the last couple of decades has been political interference, and that's why you see GMDs being removed every 6 months, or every 1 year, every 2 years. This is the longest serving GMD I think we've had since the history of NNPC. I think that if we allow NNPC do its work without any form of political interference, if we allow the security agencies do what they are supposed to do, you will see NNPC doing better. But a situation where the GCU of NNPC has to manage the joint venture partners, has to manage security chiefs, has to manage those who are stealing crude oil, has to manage all of these things. He cannot perform the same way the guy who is managing BP or Shell or Chevron, the way they operate. He cannot operate at the same level because he's dealing with a whole different ballgame, different from what they're doing. We're dealing with Nigerian factor here, and we must remove the Nigerian factor from their operation so they can perform better. Can they do better than they are doing today? Absolutely, yes, they can do better. But let us give them a level playing field. Let us remove every bottleneck that's impeding their operations, and let's then hold them accountable.
Does that also include the president of the country not being the Minister of Petroleum?
Yeah,
because we hear the interferences also.
Absolutely. I think the oil and gas industry, should be distinct. I really do not see any justification or any reason, any moral justification for the president who should really be so enmeshed, on national security, on national development, having the time to also serve as petroleum minister. So to that extent, I agree that, the NNPD, petroleum industry, should have a separate minister. The president should not hold that responsibility. Now, this actually even brings us to the need for amendment of the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act. I believe that act, that law, should have unbundled the NNPC. I'm still at odds as to why the DPR then was unbundled into the NUPRC and the Nigerian Ministry of Industry, but the NNPC was not touched. We should have a national oil company that is purely into E&P. Not just giving out all the fields as joint ventures,
right?
Which NNPC is not even able to really maintain because they are not doing their part of the counterpart funding.
Let's look at what the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NETI, has told us recently. It released a document that shows that Nigeria lost 609.7 million barrels of oil in 12 years. And then this is valued at 16.25 trillion naira. Also, between 2009 and 18, we lost 4.2 billion liters of petroleum products from refineries, valued at $1.84 billion. That's wild.
Well, the question I'll ask is this. If you have a security man who you have employed for 12 years, and for the last 12 years, almost everything in your house has been stolen, what do you do with that security man? That's the question Nigerians must ask of the Nigerian Navy. These figures are mind-boggling, they are alarming. We must ask the Nigerian Navy, who done it? What's going on with this? We cannot lose our commonwealth to this extent, and nobody has been or is being prosecuted. There's no way, we don't see anyone tracking the monies. All we see is that people making allegations that, there's high rises we see in Lagos and other places are being built with stolen crude oil money and what have you. But there's not one person who has been prosecuted for this. Are you saying, when you speak of 14 trillion naira, 14 trillion naira is not 1,000 naira, not 1 million naira. Where are they keeping those funds?
Good question. Good question. When this report was released by NETI, The second question people ask immediately, who are those involved? If Naiti can have a record of what's going on, why can we not have a record of those that are involved?
You see, as I said, you know, this is a problem that strikes right at the heart, you know, of our nationhood. And that is why, you know, this news going around that oil theft actually goes to the very top in Nigeria. You cannot help but you know, listen to those saying that. Because, you see, as he was saying, as of today, no one person has been prosecuted, has been convicted from oil theft. And we keep hearing that, as you read out the figures, Nigeria has lost 609, you know, million liters. Okay, Nigeria has actually lost 25 trillion officially, okay, between 2009 and 2020, 11 years, which I believe is actually more. So if you have not prosecuted anybody in the last 30 years or so, and you keep saying that this is a crime, and you keep saying that people are committing it, and you have not arraigned anybody, you have not convicted anybody, then what do you want us to think of you? It means the government is literally saying that oil theft is okay. I mean, more or less, because if you have convicted one person, others will sit up.
Right.
That is why I'm calling for harsher measures. This is the lifeline of the country, I keep repeating. Harsher measures. Oil theft should not just be mere economic crime. You see, when the FCC takes someone, sometimes they do their court, their conviction, their prosecution for you know, donkey years. But we cannot afford that.
Right.
The oil industry is distinct because it is the lifeline of the nation.
Professor Abubakar Alkali, Mr. Dumebi Kachikwu, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.